Good evening, everyone, and welcome to When the Shift Hits the Fan. And we're here tonight again, the two shifters. My name is Mark Jeffrey and my co-host, Linda Lehman. And we have declared that February was going to be fearless. We are going to give you some information about fear and what it does to us and how we can conquer our fears, banish our fears, just make ourselves a little bit comfortable when we're in situations like that. The one thing I have to talk about is, what is fear? And you know, it has many, many different levels, obviously, right? So there's the fear of you're sitting at home at night and the door slams open and you know, your heart starts racing and your breathing is all, what's going to happen? Who is that? Who's at my door? It's a burglar, whatever, right? But that's a flight or fight response. It's just that's the immediate messy way that we think of things. Before we get up, we look and we realize the wind has opened the door. But there's those moments in between that scared for your life and when you can rationalize things. And all of us have different fears that we have in our lives. Some of us afraid of speaking in front of people, afraid of, you know, walking around naked. Well, indoors, of course, or nude, as calling me. But, you know, it's just we all have these fears, and some of them can be, you know, paralyzing to us. And the first thing I want to say is, you know what, that's okay. Because in one respect, that's a safety measure for you. Like if we didn't have that immediate reaction to things that happen, we could end up in hot water a lot of the times. It's funny how different things happen. Like, I don't know how the cat does this because I don't hear her doing it, but she comes and lays on top of me sometime in the middle of the night. And last night, in the middle of the night, she jumped off, and of course her back legs dug into my chest, so I felt her jump off, and I had that fear reaction. I'm going, why is the cat jumping off? What did she hear that I didn't hear? I mean, all these things went through my mind. And so I was up for like the next 10 minutes with my eyeballs really wide, hardly breathing, trying to hear what she heard, when in fact cats are cats, right? They do ridiculous things. They don't care. And so after a while, of course, my heart started, you know, just going back to the normal, my heart, and breathing easy, and then fell back to sleep. But had I not had that reaction, there could have been danger in my house, right? So it's there to have, but also to rationalize it throughout the process is not just being fearful and never looking into it, because the reality is fear is just a made-up thing. That's all fear is. It's just made up. And it's fear of what could happen. And so we have to be really, really careful. You know, there is those things that keep us safe, like you hear somebody walking behind you at night. You know, you got to be cognizant of these things. You're in a dark alley, you know, and that music starts playing. No. Anyways, what it is, we just have to be cognizant of the fact that there are some reactions to fear that are good for us, but some that are just not good for us. They're irrational. We just choose not to do certain things because of an invisible wall that's there, and we don't even know where that's from. Now, Linda and I both, we work with a lot of entrepreneurs. And so we meet in lots of different levels of fear. Like, well, I just didn't get my homework done. Yeah, okay. Why not? You know, the fear ultimately on that thing was, well, I'd have to show it to somebody and they might judge me. Huh? Yeah. I've made a phone call. They can't make phone calls when they're prospecting. You know, it had to be, I'm looking for the sales funnel that when they come, they go all the way through it and they just buy from me. Yeah, okay. You know, fear. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Or you want to date that girl, but you're afraid to walk up to her and say hi. You know, what if she doesn't like my freckles? What if she thinks I'm too, you know, all of these what ifs, what ifs, what ifs. Linda, Doesn't what if just make you crazy?
Oh, Mark, it does. It makes me totally crazy. It reminds me of a book I read a long time ago by Wayne Dyer called Excuses Be Gone.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, excuses, if we peel back the onion on our excuses that we give ourselves, and sometimes we can come up with some real doozies that we rationalize or rationalize to ourselves and to help us believe it. It's really a fear that is wearing a nice, pretty mask. And it's the mask that we put there because, as you said, we want to make ourselves look better. We want to make ourselves look good in front of other people. But realistically, Mark, the other people don't care. They have their own fears. And so we're really afraid of ourselves, or we're afraid to succeed, or we're afraid. I think one of the biggest fear that you and I run into is people are afraid that they might fail at first, and somebody's going to be there pointing a finger at them, telling them, "See, I told you so."
Mhm. Yep. That's the worst one, and actually I think you posted that today. Like my I can't remember what you said. My biggest thing is it's none of my business what other people think of me, and I should never listen to their opinion. And you had something like that this morning. And I really like that because we really do stop. I know I've done it in the past. We've done it, and girls, women are the worst at this when, we have the weight issues and the wrinkle issues. Like, we have so many issues. I'm sure that's why somebody created wine. But the whole point is,
God bless them.
We're so afraid of things. And when I started doing this, and I know a lot of people will just think I'm absolutely mad with this. And I said, guys, they'll just go out there, they throw off their shirt and their guts hanging over their pants, and they're happy as a peacock. That's the life women need to think about, is that they don't care. They're having a good time. Pass me another beer. And we get stuck in issues and fears, and they're all irrational things because women, we judge ourselves much too harshly on all issues, including intelligence, what we say, how we look, how we walk, what we wear, all of this junk that we throw in our trunk and we haul it all over town. It never does us any good, and we're fearful all the time. Well, what if I go out and I'm supposed to speak at this convention and somebody doesn't like my shoes? My good grief, I'm sure they'll be more interested in what's coming out of your mouth than the shoes you're wearing, right? But it's an irrational fear, and it stops us from doing something. You want to know, because I'm on the talking circuit, I'm going to tell you, you would not believe in the professional speaking world, this is professionals, how many of them make up excuses not to attend a specific convention because of who's going to be in the audience. They're fearful too. You might see them on the stage and go, "Oh, look at them, my hero." You don't know that they canceled out 6 engagements because they were fearful, right? We judge ourselves too much by other people, what other people think, what we think they're going to think. Holy moly. Linda, this is a big ball of wool we just started tugging on.
Man, it is, Mark. And the funny thing is, and I know that I've experienced this, and you have too, that wonderful surge of confidence that we feel when we declare that what these other people think, as you said, is none of our business. It doesn't matter. It's what I think of me that matters, and I'm darn proud of myself for getting up on that stage or going on this next business adventure. I'm excited about it, and I know that I've got the right stuff to do it, and whatever I don't have will come, it'll come through education, some additional skills. But I really like to bring to the forefront that feeling of confidence that just surges through when we just make the decision to take control of what we're thinking and what we're feeling instead of handing over those reins of control to somebody else.
Yeah. And I know, I'm not going to sit here, Linda, we're not going to sit here and say this is going to be easy. Because, I know it's not. And I still, to this day, and it's kind of a weird thing. We talked about this on one of our past shows. It's not a fear of heights because I'm not afraid to be on a high space, but I have this incredible, almost uncontrollable urge to fall. And I don't know if I was a monkey sometime and fell out of a tree. I have no idea where this came from, but so when I can go to high places, but I can't walk up to the edge, even when there's a railing there. It's just almost impossible. And I've tried on many different occasions. And Peru was one of the ones where I really tested it, when we had to come off the side and we were looking straight down to, 30,000 feet, whatever it was, to this canyon. And the little step was what? Not even a foot? And you were,
not even a foot. Maybe
not even a foot. Like you were almost kind of going, yeah, it was, and there was no handrail. Like on one side was a wall, on the other side down. And I thought, there's no way. My little foot, it wasn't going. It wasn't going. And I thought, how can I dig my nails into this rock and get down there? But I did it. Do I really want to go up there and do it again? Not at all. It's just, I know I would feel the exact same way. It's something inside me that's there. But is that going to stop me in my everyday life or from me being successful? No. Okay, so that's something I'll live with, and I'm not going to go parachuting and stuff like that. I still, still to the last day, yeah, I'll zip line, I'll do lots of things like that. It's a different kind of reaction, and I understand it. I just don't know where it came from. But it doesn't stop me from doing what I need to do to be successful. And because we do work with a lot of entrepreneurs, it's just we see so many people that are just so afraid that someone else is going to make a judgment on them. And they don't get involved. Like we have workshops all the time on helping people do lots of things, build a website. We have NLP stuff. We have tons of courses for people to take. And you can see them there listening every week. But then when you say, I'm opening up the lines, crickets. They're afraid. And until you step over that, just to toe over it, just to say, even maybe anything, you're never, ever going to get past it. You're never going to get past it. It's this invisible wall that's always going to be there. Every time you walk up to it, you're gonna feel it on your nose. You're gonna feel it inside of you, and you're gonna stop. And my gosh, Linda, how do we get across to these people that they are so much more valuable than that?
Yeah, and they are. They are so much valuable. I think one of the things that we all need to go back and think about and realize is what fear is really intended for. Way back in the very beginning of time, fear was very useful, and it's still, in its pure state, incredibly useful to us because it is a protection for us. Way back in the caveman days, fear was there to give them a signal saying, uh-oh, there's a saber-toothed tiger chasing you, you better run. And so at that point in time, fear gave you a boost of adrenaline. It gave you more energy so that you could run and probably run faster and further than you ever imagined that you could. That's the purpose of fear. But in today's world, what we have done is we take that same fear, but we use our imagination against ourselves, and then we apply it to everyday life. And so what happens is we still, the mechanisms are still there in our body. Our body acts the same. If we imagine something horrible is going to happen, our subconscious mind doesn't know that this is a pretend thing that we're doing. It thinks it's real. So it starts all of those chemical reactions and those mechanisms in our body to react in fear, and so we're getting this big boost of adrenaline, and we're getting this big boost of all these chemicals, but unfortunately, we're internalizing, we're hanging on to it because we're not getting on our tennis shoes and running away as fast as we can. We're not expending that energy, and so it just kind of sits there. And this is one of the key things that causes a lot of diseases that we have out there, is this built-up energy, this built-up fear has no place to go. And so we need to step back and really start asking us the questions. I know on a lot of our shows, some of the advice I give our listeners, same advice I give myself, is to start asking why. Why am I afraid of this? What am I afraid of? And then when you give yourself an answer, ask, okay, well, this is the answer. Why am I afraid to make these calls? I'm afraid they're going to say no. Why am I afraid of them saying no?
What's the worst thing that can happen? Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually you're going to break it down to your answer is going to be so ridiculous that you're going to say, oh, well, this fear isn't worth hanging on to anymore.
Yeah, and you know, and I think you're exactly right there, Linda. You've got to get it down to the ridiculous, because here's what's going to happen to you too. If you do this halfway on this, right, and you go, okay, I'm not afraid, it doesn't matter, and you make that call and they do say no, all it's going to do is just validate why you didn't. Oh, well, see, told you. You're going to be that other person that we started off with when somebody says, oh, I told you you would fail. You just told it to yourself. And we do this way too often too, because we talked about this when we were just talking. People that go out and they're going to do anything. I don't know. I'll tell you something, a ridiculous example. Buy a lottery ticket. Okay, so you go in with this, with the fact that you're never going to win, right? So when you don't win, it validates that, right? Oh, I'm just buying a lottery ticket, but you never really believe you're going to win. You just get, well, I might, oh, gosh darn, maybe it will happen. It's just, but it doesn't. So it validates the same thought process again when you go and buy the next lottery ticket. It starts that whole circle again. And I know that's a really ridiculous way to connect this, but I think it's a more visual way of how we do things. That if you accept a fear of any kind, you're going to keep accepting it, and like Linda said, you're going to keep trying to find a way to validate it. And what you need to do is learn to maneuver around it. To like Linda's telling you, stop right then and there. Don't let it get even a toehold, any kind of grip on you. You got to stop and say, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Like if you're out, Linda, this is another thing. And just like in everyday life, where some people won't order, a few people go out. We'll set this up a little bit better here. Just popped into my head. You know me. We're sitting at the dinner table, and there's a few there. Now, we don't know, okay, some have, that some have more money than others and whatnot, right? So somebody waits until somebody else kind of says their order because they're trying to figure out what other people are going to spend for dinner. And
my grandma did that all the time.
Yeah, to gauge, well, I want to be in what everybody else does. Now, I mean, I was hard because I know you're going to, we order whatever we want. It doesn't matter.
Good, I want that.
It doesn't matter, but that's a good example of how people in everyday life, we're always doing that. But we're conditioned in a way. But it's still fear. How many people gauge the exact speed they're going to drive by what everybody else is doing on the road? They have no idea the speed that they're driving at. They're just kind of, I'm in there. I'm with the rest of the people. You could be driving like 20 kilometers under because everybody decided, because one guy decided to do it, and then everybody followed him. That's fear. I don't want to be out there because what if I'm speeding? Why don't you look at the gas gauge or the speedometer, right? That's how ridiculous fear is. And we do it every day. And I have something for our listeners. I want you to go out through a day. I want you to kind of gauge this and write it all down. How many times in a day did I do something because somebody else did, because I was afraid, and let's put it in those terms, of being different than everybody else.
That's a good one. That's a good one, Mark.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, that I think for some people, that's going to be a pretty long list. And here's the other thing. Here's people, and I won't say who it is, but this is a person that drives me crazy. When I say, what movie do you want to go to? Oh, I don't care. Okay. What restaurant would you like to go to? Oh, I'm good with anything. You're afraid of making a choice. You know, you're not, and I would say that, and this person would go, no, I'm just being amiable. And no, you're not. You're afraid of making a choice. Make a choice. And when you bolt somebody down like that, and do your friends a favor, if you're the one that's always making the choices in that, make them do it. You're doing them a favor, because the first time they make a decision and everybody goes, great decision, maybe they'll make another one.
Exactly. You know, again, it builds that confidence. Like, oh, I made a good decision. I made a good choice. You know, this is what I really wanted to eat tonight. So cool. But Mark, I want to throw another fear on the table, or I guess a mask of fear. And people tend to not correlate this with fear. Procrastination.
Oh, yeah.
Procrastination truly is nothing but fear in disguise.
Yep, that pretty face. I'm not fearful, I'm just procrastinating. I don't know which one's worse.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. But it goes back, and a few shows ago we talked about this, but this example just keeps coming up in my mind over and over again when we talked about our conditioning. You know, we're truly are conditioned from childhood to think a certain way, to perceive things in a certain way, to do things in a certain way. And when we start stepping outside of that norm, whether it's a new idea for something that we really want to try or really want to do, kind of like when I walked on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't procrastinate about that, of course.
No, I ran as fast as I could.
Yeah. Saying Puma all the way. But anyway, but our internal protection mechanisms, that same mechanism that told us when it told the caveman to run because there was something horrible chasing him, that same mechanism is still there. It's in our subconscious. And so when we start stepping outside of what we call our comfort zone to do something different that we've never done before, the same mechanisms that protected us from something dangerous are going to pop their ugly head up and try to protect us from this different thing because it's something that it's not used to. And so it's going to start throwing at you all of these feelings, all of this procrastination, this wall that happens in front of you when you're procrastinating to where you just can't seem to push it forward. That is fear saying, oops, I don't want you to be different. I like things the way they are, so I'm going to use the tools that worked in the past to bring you back to where you should be, in my opinion, which is your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
But Mark, the deal is, that good old comfort zone, the deal is if we start recognizing, acknowledging this feeling that we get, this fear, and it doesn't have to be something that breaks you out in a sweat or causes your heart to race faster. It could be something that's just keeping you literally stuck. If we just acknowledge that, oh, I must be on the right track because this is fear trying to hold me in place. When we recognize that, then it gives us the ability to say, okay, since I've recognized this, what is it I really want to do? Get emotionally involved with how exciting it's going to be when we actually accomplish this, and just move forward.
Right.
Move.
Yep, just move. The what if, that's pretend. Okay, that's dress up. And all of this is dress up. All of those things, like Linda says, that pretty face on procrastination. It looks really inviting, but it's the danger zone, and you have to understand that. Being fearful is an unconscious response, like to many, many different stimuli. And we're all different. We all have different levels of what will shake us and what will not. When I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, you best be sure I was scared to death. I had to come to terms with that because it literally meant living or dying. And that made me stronger. definitely. But again, I had my lifetime of living the way I lived that allowed me to move into that. And had I not had all of that stuff behind me, I don't know if I would have been so successful. I really don't. I can't go back and redo it as a different person. I do know that some people live, some people die, and I have a hard time figuring out the differences as to why. Same support systems, same everything. But some people live and some people die when they get diagnoses of things. And it's the same thing as entrepreneurs. Some people succeed, some people die. They wither away because they got chipped to death with things that they didn't come to terms with. So yes, we all have that response, and it's just going to be unconscious, and it's going to be there. But we have to learn how to deal with it. And over the next few sessions, we're going to have specific things, specific instances. We've kind of traveled into a lot of different territories tonight, but I know this. I know it, that many of you are sitting there going, easy for you to say, right? And guess what that is? It's just fear.
Fear.
It's just fear. It's just fear. We're going to help you. One of the things we do want you to do is on our websites, we have ways to contact us. Let us know. We're on Facebook under our own names, our own people here. Find us, Facebook us, ask us some questions, tell us your fears, and we'll help, because that's what we're here to do. Is we have incredible lives that have seen some incredible lows. And we know what it feels like to be down so far that there is no up. It doesn't exist. And being able to get past that and living these incredible lives. And it's for you too. We're not special. Well, we kind of are, but we're not special in the way
because
that...
we think we are, Mark.
Because we think we are. Oh, there, put it right out there. But in the real realm of the real world, there's nothing magic about it. It can be done. It really can be done. But it will take you doing it and being ready to do it, taking that deep breath and saying, today I'm going to maneuver around this fear. I'm not going to tell you to stomp it down, banish it from your life. I'm just going to say, find a little maneuver. Give me, a left shift when it's going right. Just something simple that you can work on, that the next time that you have to make that phone call to your prospects or stand in front of the meeting and present your view, that you're going to get through it. I'll tell you what, every time I get up on stage, there is about 3 or 4 seconds of time that I think I stop breathing. And then I sit back on my heels and I'm ready. And I'm at the most calm, like a calm lake, not a ripple on the water. So, but I had to fight through that. And that's how this works. And we're going to help you do that. We're here to help you take a chance and be all that you can be in every way that you can be. And so that invisible wall, that ceiling doesn't stop you. And Linda, we're coming back on the bottom end of this half hour again, but we're going to be back. We'll be back next week. But Linda, last word is always yours, my friend.
Well, thank you, Mark. I would like us to think about a reframe for what we're going to do with our fear. I mean, you talked about it a little bit by stepping around it. So I'm not going to tell you just to bust through it, and I'm certainly not going to tell you to just stop allowing fear to prevent you from pursuing your dreams. Instead, I would really like to put the suggestion out there that you acknowledge your fear, experience your fear, feel it, but then grab that fear by the hand and take it along for the ride of its life. And then use this energy of the fear to propel you forward. That's what I got, Mark.
Oh, and I like that. I like that. Make friends with fears. Another February we can do. Making friends with fears. Well, To all of our listeners out there, we want to thank you so very much for spending time with us here again tonight. I'm hoping that in some small way that we've helped you a little bit. And again, please join us. Go back to our site. It's up there on right there, whentheshifthitsthevan.com. You'll see a lot of other sessions that we have there on many, many different subjects and some exercises that you can do. And we'll always be adding to that, so always drop by and spend some time there as well. So from Mark here in Canada, the cold, cold north tonight, good night, everyone.
And from Linda in Florida, good night.